How's it going, everyone? This is Kevin. Today I want to bring along with me to give you your ultimate guide for your Sony A7 IV. So let's jump right into it. So if you're a new Sony A7 IV user, I'm going to give you my ultimate guide of how I set up my camera for photo, video, and S&Q with the customization that you can do within the camera. So that way you're on the go and you're set to go take your photos, videos, or anything while you're out and about. So hopefully it'll help you out, since I know I've been asked about this quite a bit. And also, if you're planning to get one of these cameras, well, this video will be for you for eventually when you get it. So if you want to save this video, we'll help you out to come back to it to get your camera set up and ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and cover first the photography side. Okay, now that we are in our photo switch right there, we're gonna go to the M button and then just switch it over. Right there, what I usually do, I set it up for 400 ISO, and then for 1/250, just kind of works out for me for the sweet spot. Which from there, we're gonna go to the menu section and go back to the little camera icon right there. And then from there, we're just gonna go to your image quality. What I usually do is I have the image quality settings right here, where I go to the file format, RAW, because I shoot RAW. If you don't wanna shoot RAW, that's up to you, but that's what I do. Then I shoot in uncompressed RAW. You can choose whichever one you want, but that's the one I'm doing. Just so for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna go with what I usually put. If you wanna customize it to whatever you want, that's up to you, but that's just what I usually use for myself. Now, the one thing that I want to make sure that you go to right here is that you go right all the way down here to the rec media settings, which you go to recording media. See how it says simultaneous recording? You just click it to make sure that you save it onto both SD slots right there. It just makes life easier, and you'll kind of have a better, just, safe measure just in case anything goes wrong. So that's something that I would recommend doing. And I do that for both, for the video as well. So you can do it already there. And that's pretty much it. So now we can go back and we don't need to worry about anything else. So we're going to go from there to just keep going down below shooting mode, which right here is where you're going to be able to save wherever setting you want to for your customization. But for the sake of this right now, we're going to go ahead and go back because we don't need to do that just yet, because, well, we're not there just yet. We got to customize it further. So we got the drive mode. The drive mode, I have it in continuous shooting and to the high plus. You're welcome to change it to whatever you like. You have all your other settings, but for me, just a high plus is what I usually use for myself. Keep it at that. So then from there, the interval shooting, that's where you can do your, time lapses in a certain way, but we're not going to touch on that. We don't need that just yet. Now in the shutter department right here for the silent mode, you can, choose if you want to shoot silent mode. Right now I have it on off. But I also do the mechanical shutter. That's all I need to do. And if you want to release without shutter, without the lens right there, you can do that if you have a lot of vintage lenses. So that way it'll recognize that you can use them. But that's pretty much it. So now going there, I have the steady shot on. And then from there, the shooting display. This is where I have my diagonal and square grid. Just basically so I have my square grid and then the diagonal version so I can frame everything however I want to. And that's pretty much it for that end. So now we're going to move on to the exposure kind of section right here, where if you're shooting in aperture priority, you mess with those. Right now we're not messing with those, so we're just going to go ahead and go to the metering, have metering mode to multi, face priority or multi on, and then in center, since most of the time I'm in the center of it, or if anybody else is in the center, just makes it easier. And the white balance, I usually have it set to the auto white balance, and then set it from there. Keep moving on. Color tone, this is where you can have your picture profile. Make sure that it's off because you're not shooting video. You don't want to have to shoot video like picture profile in a photo, because it won't be as nice to edit just because you think you had the right exposure and then you didn't. So make sure it's off, and I just keep mine in standard, and that's it. Zebra display, I keep it on. And I have a custom setting where I do the lower limit, 94 plus. It just makes sure that I have everything just as well exposed as I need to from the highlights area, and it just works out for me. So whatever you want to do for you is fine with me too. But moving on, we got the focus area right here. So that's if you have your lens already put, but for now I don't have mine. So the focus area, I'm going to have it in the the zone area for video. That's what I usually use. So I'm going to go ahead and do probably the expanding spot. Is just it expands and everything. Sometimes I use a tracking spot, but it just depends on what I'm trying to do. But you can set it up however you want to. Expand works well for me. So I'm just going to keep that there. And then from there, we keep going. You can change the color if you want to, but that's all we need to do for that. Now we have the face and eye autofocus. I have it set to on. I have it set to human so that it starts with human. If you shoot more wildlife, we'll keep it on bird or animal. But if you shoot human, keep it in human. That's what I do. And you can just decide if you want to have where it like picks whatever eye or something. But other than that, it is what it is on that end. But that's pretty much all I have whenever it comes down to that section. And now we're going to go to the customization of the buttons when it comes down to for photo and video, because it's in the same section. So we're going to go and, kill two birds with one stone, or whatever the saying is. So we're going to go to dial customize, custom dial setup for the photo, because it has a camera for like a photography. So now let's go to the first one. So this is the AEL button that it's talking about. I have it to turn off the silent mode to on or off, just in case I want to shoot, in silent mode or not, just because I don't want people to see or hear, I guess. And then I have the face priority. So if I want to take the face priority off and on, I just hit it on the AF on. The white balance on the C1. The focus mode right here on the C3, so I can go from manual to autofocus if my lens doesn't let me do it with like a switch. And then the C4 is just to do the touch operation on the screen itself, just to tap focus and stuff like that. Now if I go here, this little like I guess joystick, I can double click it and I'll bring back the focus mode to the middle. That's just what it does. I didn't set anything for the middle. Right here to the left, I can do my drive. So if I want to change it from fast shutter, I can do slower or one single shot. And then I can change my ISO with clicking to the right, but I can also do it with the wheel. And then clicking down, you can do the face eye autofocus for the subject, whether if I want to go from human all the way to animal or bird. And then I got obviously my video one, and then my C2. My C2 is just to change my type of focus style. So if I want to go from like expanded tracking or zoned or something, that's just basically what it is. Don't have anything else on the rest. And that's for the wheel. So basically, like if I want to have my shutter right here, this is for the aperture. This is for the ISO. Didn't really change those, but it might be different on yours. But if not, that's what I have it for. So we're gonna move on for the video one. It's almost the same thing for the video, so it's gonna be kind of fast how I go with it. Silent mode, the same thing. The autofocus for the priority or not for the face, and then the white balance, so I can customize it, as well as now the focus mode if I want to go to manual autofocus. Now, but the only difference here is I have the picture profile. So if I want to go from S-Log 3 to maybe standard or something, so I don't want to have to color grade or cinetone, it makes it easier. Then I go as well right here is just to do the same thing as the camera one for photo, is just to bring back the focus point to the middle. The auto white balance lock hold, which I don't really ever use. Now this one is the only one that's different as well, because I can do APS-C mode or full frame in just a click of a button. So if I want to shoot like APS-C 24 frames per second in 4K, that way I can get a little bit extra punch. It works out because the A7 IV has extra megapixels, but ISO as well. And then same thing with the eye autofocus for a subject, whether it's animal, bird, or human. And the same thing with the movie and the type of focus point I want to use. And same thing like that. So that's basically it when it comes down to that. So now let's pretend we're going to save this one. We're going to go back to the shooting mode, camera set memory, and then you can just click OK into the first one. So if you want to save it to your number one, you save it to number 1, 2, or 3. If you want to change any types of different customizations where you're like, you know what, I want to have one that's at 215 and 400 ISO. I want to have one that has for maybe, I don't know, lower shutter because I want to do night mode long exposures. You just start saving it. You just change basically the shutter speed, and then you just go to menu again, camera set, and then go to number 2, save it there, and so on and so forth. That's the way to save it to a different number every time within the photo one. Now let's customize our video settings. So now that we're going to video, we're gonna go ahead and do the same kind of style that we did for the photo, but now for the video part. So we're gonna go back to menu. We're gonna go back to our recording, which is right there for like the video camera now it goes. For the file format, I have for the all intro like 4K because that's what my memory card allows. If yours doesn't allow it, do the highest one that you can. For the movie settings, I do 24 frames per second because that's the one that I do for my custom one. So we're gonna go with custom one for 24 frames per second. The second one I do 60 frames per second. Third one I did 120 frames per second at the 8-bit color one, because the S&Q I use for the 10-bit color one, since that's the only way to get it. I've made a video about that before. But going back, so now we have our mode right there. So now we go to shooting mode. You can change that if you want to, which I don't need to just yet, but shutter, we don't need to worry about it. Audio recording, keep it on. Audio rec level, I keep it at 9 because that's what it goes for my microphones. If you're not gonna have a microphone for whatever reason, maybe go up higher, but you can see your levels on your screen or anything like that. So that's just what I do. And then the wind noise reduction, auto. And image stabilization, I keep the active one. And the marker display, the shooting display is a diagonal and square, the same thing. But I emphasize the recording display, which is on. So like if I start recording, you see that little bit of a nice, you know, kind of frame right there in red to show me that it's recording. So coming back again, and now we're going to go to the exposure. We don't need to worry about those, but the metering, same as the photo. The white balance, this is where I actually do something different. I go to the Kelvin section and keep it at 5,000 because it's a good midpoint to start where I can go either warmer or cooler depending on the day or the situation if I want to maintain a certain, you know, white balance. I never really shoot with auto white balance. I know, unless I know that I'm like just doing like a quick vlog, that doesn't really matter. But other than that, that's what I usually do. And then the color tone, this is where we actually change things. We go to the picture profile. I go to the picture profile 9 because that's my S-Log3. And then I save that, and that's the one that I'm gonna keep. So I say, okay, the soft skin effect, I keep it off. And then zebra display, the same thing as our photo, on, custom 1, lower limit 94 plus, because that'll help out with making sure that you expose correctly for your S-Log3. So we're gonna keep moving on. And then from there, we're moving on to our autofocus, manual focus, focus area. Usually I do the zone area because it just, you know, you can move it on, so a bigger zone area. But at the end of the day, if I'm shooting somebody, it's gonna recognize the person. So that's what I do. And then I just keep going with the face eye priority, the same thing like how the photo was, human, everything like that. Don't need anything of that, don't need anything of that. And that's pretty much it. We already did our customization of our dial, so we don't need to worry about that. So now the only thing is to have our correct shutter speed, 1/150th. And then the ISO for the native one of this is 800 because that's the native ISO for the S-Log3 for the A7 IV. So that way you know. So all in all, that's pretend that that's how we want to save it. We're gonna go back right here to shooting mode, camera set memory to 1. Boom, you save it. Now if I go to my number 1, I have it saved right there. I have my temperature right there. I can do manual mode, which I don't have a lens right now. Change my picture profile that way with a custom button. So now let's pretend that I want to do 60K. So all I would have to do is go back to the M and then go bring this up to 1/125th because that's, you know, the 180 rule. And then all I have to do is go back to my image quality, movie settings, and then instead of 24, I go to 60, and then it shows you right there that it's a crop mode style. And then I go ahead and then save it with the shooting mode and camera set into the number 2, save it to number 2. So whenever I go to number 2, it's right there, same settings of everything else. And you can do the same thing for the 120 frames per second if that's what you want. And finally, let's customize our S&Q. So now in the S&Q, we're trying to do 120 frames per second. So that means that we'd have to have our shutter to 1/250th. ISO stays the same. Now we're just gonna go to the picture profile is the same because we wanna shoot S-Log3. The difference will be is image quality. We're gonna have to go to the HD. I do the all intro because of my memory card. And then we go back to the S&Q settings. Rec frame rate right there because somebody made a comment. They're like, oh no, he's making the 24 frames expanded to 120. That's not what it is. This is just basically saying that you're gonna, whatever you record in the frame rate, it's gonna turn it into a 24 frames per second timeline. So with that being said, frame rate right here, you can bring it all the way up to 120 frames per second. It just slows it down for you to 24 frames per second. And like if it was on a timeline, and that's pretty much it. Then you have the 10-bit color, 422, 89 megabits per second per recording for that, and that's pretty much it. And then we go back, we have it there. So now all we have to do is go back to shooting mode, camera set to number 1 because that's where I save my S&Q. So if I go to my S&Q 1, it's saved there. I have my 1/250th, ISO 800, and everything like that. So now let's pretend that you want to do maybe a time lapse. I don't know. You're doing you today, but we're just gonna pretend. So I go back to our M. As you notice, every time you want to, customize a different one, you go back to the M, then you just save it onto the one that you want. So back to the M right here. Now we're just gonna lower our shutter to maybe 1/30th in a second. So we're just gonna lower it a little bit. But we're gonna go back. Image quality. I usually do this. I just keep it at the 4K. It switches it for you. That's fine. Go to the S&Q settings. So instead of frame right there, I usually just go about 2 frames per second or 1. You can choose whatever you want to. And then it's going to make it into a 24 frames per second timeline. So that way it just looks like a time lapse and it makes everything looks nice and smooth whenever you're doing that. So just so you know, because then from there, we're able to just go back and then you have the same thing of everything. It's just now you can lower this part to like about 1/30th. It just makes it a little bit blurry, which in a good way is nice. Then you go back to your settings right here to the shooting mode, set camera, and I'll just go to 2. And now if you go there, if you go to number 2, it's going to show you that it's just saved up right there. If you go to number 1, that's your slow motion. So now you know that you have your S&Q mode set up for you. And that's pretty much it to customizing all the camera for the A7 IV, so you can get started as soon as possible. Eventually, you might be able to go ahead and change it however you want to, but this is a good way to start. So that is how I customize my Sony A7 IV. I know this is a little bit of a lengthier video, but I did want you to have the ultimate kind of style guide that will help you out to set up your camera, to go for video, for S&Q, photo, everything, and customize your buttons however you want to, so that you have everything as fast as possible to just make sure that you can go ahead and shoot the best content that you can. Like I said, it's a little bit of a lengthy one, and I might have like skipped a couple things, so I apologize if it was a little bit faster, but I don't want you to, kind of be having to get drawn out with it, because it is a little bit more of a detailed subject. But if you do want to have any more, details given to you, or you have any questions, please reach out to me on my Instagram, which is Easy Tire Creative, or in the comment sections. I'm always happy to help out as much as I can. So go ahead and, give me a comment or anything like that, and I'll help you out as best as I can. And hopefully this little guide will help you out to go out and create the best content that you can and want to. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.